You're listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more in your friends and to further consider the issues that plague friendships. I'm Alysa Lucas, and I'm currently in cold, snowy Arizona. And I'm really concerned about it because I'm from Michigan, and it's New Year's Eve, and I'm here with my friend Tara. Say hello to Tara to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, and it's snowing here. What's up with that, Tara? I got invited
Global warming.
here. Global climate change. But seriously, it's snowing hardcore here, and we are stuck inside all day. But I think that'll be okay because
We have plenty of provisions downstairs after a weekend of wine tasting.
yes, and by provision, she means wine bottles. No, but this is the second year in the row that I've come out to, well, I've flown to Vegas, where Tara is, and then we've driven her husband, Tara, her two pups, and met with some of his family and done Conwood, Arizona for wine tasting. And they are what I might call wine connoisseurs. And as Jason would say, it's not a habit, it's a hobby.
I just say I'm a wine fan.
I'm a fan of wine. And so this is the second year in a row that I've been invited along. So it's starting to become a friendship tradition to travel here with you. But that isn't so much a new tradition, I guess, because we've spent a lot of time traveling. So listeners, you might remember Tara from the episode The Chick to Her Duck, where Tara and I were in Dallas, Texas, just in case you forget where Dallas is. And we were there at our National Communication Association conference, and we were recording an episode about our research that dealt with sexual stressors and friendship. So Tara's been here before.
Both literally and figuratively.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Listening to Alysa.
Oh, when do you listen to Best Forevers?
I do. I went during my runs in the morning. I listen to it while I cook dinner sometimes at night.
Bless your heart, friend.
I know.
Thanks for the support.
I try.
But one of the things is that Tara and I do have a tradition. We've known each other since 2004. So we're going into 2019. So we'll be going on 15 years. Holy shit.
That is a long time.
That's a long time to put up with me.
Or vice versa.
Well, I mean, I think I have it easier than you do.
I don't know. I know some of my quirks, I think.
I know a lot of mine. But we've done a lot of traveling together, and I think one of the things is that before we became graduate students, did you travel a lot with your family? We did like Midwest, like Cincinnati Zoo and like
That's
Cedar
exactly
Point.
what we would do, yes.
Yeah, Cedar Point's the roller coaster central of the Midwest, right? Yeah. And so we've done a lot of traveling, and I would say that me and my family, we did Midwest traveling. It sounds like you did the same thing. And it wasn't until I became a graduate student and going to these conferences did I really get a chance to really start to travel. So that's been one of the nice things about being in academia is that, I mean, you have to travel for work at least once or a few times a year, depending on how many conferences you go to. But this started when we were in graduate school. And so we've been to many different places together. So we traveled a lot. So what I thought as the first episode into 2019, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! Oh, we need a Prosecco pop.
You have to edit that one in.
Yeah, we'll put that in post. Probably not. But yes, it's the new year. And so one of the things that we were thinking about is that travel is sort of like one of those things that we hope to do in the new year, that a new year is a lot about the journey. And that this might be a good topic for this first episode of Best Forevers in 2019 because Tara and I have done so much traveling, and how are we still friends 15 years later when we've done so much traveling? Tara, why do you think we're still friends after all the time that we've traveled together?
I think part of it is traveling's what made us such good friends. Because we saw each other during like
The worst
times, yes. Like when somebody got really anxious about some aspect of traveling or...
Yeah.
Because we both have different moments and things that make us anxious.
Yes. Yeah. I remember our very first trip was in 2006 to Greece for the International Association of Relationship Research Conference. It's a specialized conference, focuses on relationships. I studied friendship at the time. Your focus was family. Is that still in there? Yep. Yeah. I know because we do friendship stuff together. Yeah. And so we went to this conference, and it was the first time besides Canada that I've been out of the country. And when you're from Michigan in the Midwest, Canada doesn't really count as an international trip.
I went before they even required a passport to go.
Exactly. Yeah, that's been more recently in the last few years. I have an enhanced license so that I can cross the border with just my driver's license if I want. I've used it once. Going to a conference in Toronto with my mom. But we went to Greece, and so that was your first international trip. What was...
Yes.
Were you excited? Were you anxious? How did you feel about that trip?
So excited, and that was definitely the trip that gave me the traveling bug.
Yes, it was amazing, because we didn't just go to Greece. We went to the island of Crete. And
so beautiful.
It was really beautiful. So,
and we had a 4-hour layover in Rome.
No, it was 8 hours. We were there longer.
Oh, that's right.
We were able to... Yeah, well, let's back up here for a second, because you talked about we're friends because we do travel, that this was our trip. We were in State College, Pennsylvania. We got a ride from a friend to Harrisburg. We got on the train from Harrisburg to Penn Station in New York City. We took the shuttle from Penn Station to JFK. We took JFK to Rome, where we had the 8-hour layover. We got to see how people felt about President Bush at the time.
Not so fond.
Not so fond of him. And we got to eat pizza and eat gelato in Rome. And we got to see a bunch of fountains. And I think we went into a church or a temple or something.
There was a church right off the plaza there.
Yeah, so we got to experience Italy for a very short amount of time. Then we flew from Rome to Athens, Greece. Athens, Greece to...
Rhythm,
Okay. Then we took a bus that was like an hour to...
Heraklion.
Yeah. I don't know. And then the bus stopped, and then we still had to walk another like 5 minutes to get to our hotel. So that was probably 48 hours of travel. So if you're not friends at the end of that, you probably shouldn't travel. And that was the beginning of the trip. That wasn't even on the way home. And I didn't even include the fact that I was presenting a poster at this conference, and the poster was in this huge tube that I decided to, like, it was my carry-on. And that thing went everywhere with us. And so every single exchange...
It was like a small child traveling with us.
I still have it, though. It got lost on the way back, but they called me, and they were like, we have your package or whatever. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, the poster. Yeah, so I still have that. So it was quite the journey, but we had some interesting experiences in Greece. What was your favorite or scariest moment in Greece?
Honestly, I think it was eating at Pizza di Napoli for like the third time that week while we were watching the World Cup.
Yes, it was 2006, so it was the World Cup, and we were actually in a country where people enjoy soccer, and so that was amazing, and they probably call it football. And so every TV and every restaurant had soccer on it, and I was in heaven. And so, yeah, we watched soccer, and we found this place on the very first day called Pizza di Napoli, and it was just, if you looked out the side of it, and it had open space, like there weren't walls per se.
No, yeah, like instead of having windows, because the weather is so amazing there all the time, like it kind of like a beach community.
Yeah.
So they just had like just open, like they had the pillars and then no window there, and looking straight out onto the beach.
Yeah, so you could take a picture and you could see that the beach was only a few yards away. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. And I remember that place, like, the owner looked like Stanley Tucci, and then, like, the son looked like Viggo Mortensen, and we were there every night watching soccer and eating pizza and drinking, and that was a lot of fun. I felt like we had a home away from home, but I have a caffeine addiction, and we had breakfast included in our stay at the hotel, and so the first day I was like, I'll have a Cola Light, which is Diet Coke there. And I was like, is it included? And she said it was. But the next morning we went back and I got confronted by
some very angry Greek waiters.
Yeah, because they said that I stole a Cola Light. And I was like, no, I'll give you all the money for the caffeine. But that was a moment where I was like, I'm in a country and I do not know the language. And they think I've stolen something. And I was like, oh shit. And that was my first time away. And that was scary. But then I was like, oh no, I'll just pay for it. And then it was fine. And then every day I paid for my Cola Light.
Before they even brought it out, you had the money ready.
Yeah, like, here, take it. I want Cola Light. I think that was just a sign that I should not be drinking pop.
First of many.
Yeah. Hey.
I have a coffee problem, so, I mean, I'm no better.
Yeah, but
at least
that
most
was
people
included.
serve coffee with breakfast, yeah.
Yeah, that was included. Soda or pop, whatever you call it, Cola Light, was not included, and that was scary. But I think going into that trip, I was really anxious because I didn't know what I was going to be eating. And it turns out that Greece has the most amazing French fries, first off. I don't know what that's about, but it was delicious. And I developed my one true love.
Feta cheese.
How many blocks of feta cheese did I eat on Greek salads when we were in Greece?
Okay, so I like feta cheese. I generally say no to very little cheese.
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody eat so much feta cheese.
It's delicious. There was one day I was hungry, and we were
out shopping.
It's something like that. And we went into a place, and they had like a feta sandwich with like tomato and some other things on it, olives or whatever. And I was like, can I just have the bread and the feta cheese? And that's what I had.
She killed that sandwich.
It was my profile pic for a very long time on Facebook. And I remember this kid that I went to high school with was like, is that butter on our bread?
And it wasn't just like a simple sand. It was like ciabatta bread.
That's how I roll in Greece. So yeah, I think that was the first time that we traveled together. Mm-hmm. How did you think that trip went?
I think it went great. We had a blast.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely helps kind of cement our friendship.
I think I'm still paying that trip off.
You know, it was a large island in the
I mean, because it was like
Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah, it wasn't like we went to Athens where it's probably like a flight in and a flight out, that sort of thing. We had all these different things, but the conference we went to does good where they include a lot of things in what you go. So you got to see different things on the island. You got to have meals included and other things like that, which helps with the cost. So that's nice. But I think that one of the things that really, you said, it cemented the friendship, which I think, when you go through something like that and you see people like when they're tired and when they're hangry and they don't know the language, like I know no Greek.
You know Evharisto. Thank you.
And how did you tell me to remember it?
So every time I travel out of the country, I used to speak Spanish, but I haven't used it in so long that I don't speak Spanish anymore. But
Sad.
Every time I go somewhere, I try to like make sure I know how to say please, thank you, kind of the basics, right, to be polite.
Yeah.
And so when we were doing that, as we were getting ready for Greece, of course, Alysa's already anxious about the whole thing.
Like food. That's the first thing I was concerned about.
Whereas I'm anxious about how do I like tell people thank you for showing me where the bathroom is.
For not putting me in jail for stealing a Cola Light.
So I'm like, okay, here's how you say please, here's how you say thank you. And the only one that even sticks out to either one of us is how to say thank you, because it's Evharisto.
Or Jeff's hairy toe.
Jeff is her brother.
I'm not saying he has hairy toes. I'm just saying, like, that's how I remembered it.
Right.
But I can't say it like you. Like, I'm just like, Jeff's hairy toe. They're like, get this American out of here. She steals Cola Lights and she knows nothing.
She was no better when we got to France 10 years later.
or Revoir. Nope. Send me home. They hate me. But they're my people. I did the DNA testing and everything. They're going to send me back.
I think they did.
But I think that, that was in 2006. So 12 years, later, traveling has been like a big part of our friendship. And I think that it is the way that we can do friendship because I'm in Michigan and you're in Nevada. So it's like, in some ways, like going to conferences is our like friendship time.
Yeah. I think there's been very few conferences that we've, at least for National Communication Association, there have been very few that either one of us has missed.
Yeah, I think I missed a couple, and then I
skipped 1 year.
You skipped 1 year, and then in Vegas you didn't stay in the hotel. But so I still get to spend time with you, and I get to meet your dogs and hang out with your husband and stuff like that. So we still had a chance to interact. So it's really only like 3 that we've missed. Actually, no, it's 4 because I didn't go this year.
Ah, yes. Make me fun for myself.
Yeah, sorry. So the thing about it is, like, it's helpful to have someone to plan the going to the conference to, like, things that we'll do at the conference, things that we'll do outside of the conference. And of course, there's always, like, some great stories from conferences. Tara, any conference stories that stick out to you that make you think of our friendship?
So there's a couple. Both of them were several years ago. One was probably in 2005.
Yep.
When we went to Boston, and you had an early, super, 8 a.m. Yeah.
And can I just pause you for a second and tell you that this is my first presentation at a conference, and I was presenting my thesis work on jealousy and female friendships. And Peter Anderson, who is one of the experts in our field on jealousy, was the, what do you call it? The chair of the panel. So he was going to be there, so I was, like, super nervous. And so my friends Amanda and Tara, they got my back, right? Tara, tell them.
The intention was to have her back.
Thank you for that.
Unfortunately, being, 25 years old in grad school and at a conference, we ended up drinking a little too much the night before. Mm-hmm. Alysa was a very good little scholar.
Thank you.
And went to bed early.
Yes, I did. I didn't drink.
We did not follow her example.
You guys,
we were already a little tight in the hotel room to begin with.
Yeah, there were 2 people in each bed and 2 people on the floor.
Yeah.
Which is probably illegal.
So, that didn't happen. And so, yeah, we stumbled in.
Super late.
Super late. And we're not quiet about it either.
No.
So, yeah, I remember Alysa getting up to get ready and saying, all right, I'm leaving. I'll see you in a few minutes.
And they never came. And can I tell you
that was probably like one of the worst friendship moments.
No, it's hilarious now because I can, like, hold it over you.
No, I'm not going to your 8 a.m. presentation. Well, here's why. Remember?
Well, and then I get there, and then there's, like, all these big scholars in the room, and I was like, oh, my God, I'm going to die. And then they didn't show up. But I was so nervous. I don't know if I even noticed. But I was woken up not only when you came in, but one of our other friends in the room was sick from drinking, and she ran over. I was in the bed with whoever. I don't even remember who I was sharing the bed with. And we were closest to the bathroom, and so our friend was in the other bed, and you were on the floor with someone else. I don't even remember. But then our friend ran from her bed over me, like, stepped on me to get to the bathroom so she didn't puke on anyone. And I will say, thanks for waking me up. That's sarcasm. Not sarcasm. Thank you for not throwing up on me.
The sarcasm cancels each other out there.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I think that it's not only, like, making memories, I guess, like that. Like, maybe you don't want to remember, because that next day you guys looked like...
I can't speak for Amanda, but I definitely felt like death warmed over the next day.
I always think of the line from the movie I Know What You Did Last Summer with Ryan Phillippe, and he sees the 2 girls, like, the year after, like, this incident happens. If you haven't seen the movie, I won't spoil it. And he's like, you guys look like shit run over twice.
I'm sure we did.
That's what I always say when I'm, like, not in the mood for, oh, God, I feel like shit run over twice. So there's lots of times to make memories, and but it's also, like, times that we've celebrated, like, really big things. Like, when we went to Orlando, we had a surprise party for Tara to celebrate her engagement to Jason, and so we had, like, we kept going back to one of the Disney because it was on Disney property in Orlando for this conference, and we kept going back and trying on, like, the different ears,
like the headband ear things,
yeah,
yeah.
And so I was doing that to see which one she liked so that I could get one for the engagement party, and there is like an engagement Minnie Mouse or whatever. And so I think we got you one of those.
It's still sitting in my office at home. It's sitting on the shelf.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, but like those, we get to celebrate those kinds of things. Sometimes it's just celebrating freedom.
Or survival, and you're almost being at the end of a semester.
Yeah. And, you know, there's two things I think about. One is the Orlando conference, the same one, where we both presented on the first day, I think at the same time. We weren't on the same panel, but and then we went to breakfast, and I was like, what do you want to go to? Well, I don't, you know, that sounds good. Let's go see the new James Bond movie.
And it was the best one out of all of them.
I think it was Skyfall. And so we went to Disney downtown, and we made a day of it. We went and saw the James Bond movie. We went shopping, and we had lunch. And it was like the best day ever, just to be like, you know what, let's play. I mean, we did conference stuff.
Yeah.
And also that one I paid out of pocket. So I was like, you know what? I'm doing what I want.
Enjoying myself.
I'm going to enjoy myself. So there's a picture of me that we took a little tram to Disney downtown from our hotel so that we could go see James Bond. And you took a picture of me of how excited I am. And I look like a freaking kid on Christmas morning, like, Santa came!
I'm in Disney, and I get to see James Bond, and we're riding a tram, and...
That's pretty accurate. But there's also, like... I remember, you know, we had the conference directly after the 2016 presidential election, and, like, just sort of, like, experiencing that with a group of people. And, you know, so it's, like, one of those things, like, staying in the room together and being able to go out and see, like, in Dallas, we went to see the JFK, where he was assassinated in the memorial. Which was a
bit of a downer.
Yeah, because we recorded our episode directly after. I think I cut out most of the JFK stuff because it was super depressing. But yeah, so we get to do all sorts of things like that. And I think that's where, you know, a lot of friendship is happening, where we get to catch up. We get to talk about research. We get to talk about classes. We get to talk about social life. We get to talk about maybe how we can have a more balanced life between work and life. You know, we did the work thing, but then we want to sell James Bond, right? You got to balance. Yeah. Everything in moderation, including moderation. What are some of your thoughts about the conferences over the years?
I think we have gotten better at the work-life balance at conferences even. And I think that's because, like, when you first get started, there's that obligation. I have to go and see everything. And then after a while, you get burned out.
Yeah, you just get overwhelmed. There's so many things, and you feel like there's all these expectations.
And then you end up not going to the conference at all. Except for your own presentations, which kind of defeats the purpose as well. And I think we've gotten a lot better at doing both the conference and the kind of relaxation thing and outside of the conference. And we're able to use the conference as well for kind of professional reasons as well, too. So not just going and listening to research. Yeah.
And I think that it's one of the only times that we really get to do our friendship.
Yeah.
And so I remember the Dallas conference, like, we both wanted to stay in one night, and we were both each in our own bed, and I was getting Tara to do the Harry Potter, sorting her in a house and getting your Patronus, and
she was a little upset that night.
Yeah, because my Patronus is an aardvark, and I thought that was, like, so uncool that I signed up with a different email address. And then I got a ginger cat, and I freaked my shit out because Ferguson, the producer of this podcast, is a little ginger cat. But actually, I'm a little bit more proud of the aardvark now. Cincinnati Zoo has Wenzel, the aardvark, and he's super precious. So I just think that he's my Patronus, and then I feel better.
So it took Cincinnati Zoo to have a special aardvark after I spent 2 hours reading awesome facts off about aardvarks.
She did. That's the thing that I think we balance each other well, and I think that helps the travel. It's like, Tara's like, okay, like, you'll come to the conference already planned out, like, in your Google Calendar, which panels you're going to, and I'm like, I haven't even looked, right? And then I'm like, but I'd like to go here, 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 or, like, let's do this fun thing. So, like, we blend together well. And so, yeah, I'm like, let's have a fun night in the room. And so and I guess apparently that's doing the Harry Potter stuff. But then Tara spends 20 minutes looking up all the facts about aardvarks, and then I learn.
See?
So I'm the fun, you're the learning? I don't know.
I can't... You're saying I'm not fun.
No, you're fun.
If aardvarks are fun.
Aardvarks are fun, including Wenzel at Cincinnati Zoo. But I think that we also are able to create lots of... one of the things is there are certainly lots of inside jokes. Like in Greece, when we watched the World Cup, and Zinedine Zidane was the captain of the French team, and I think he's attractive, and, like, he was drinking water and pouring water on himself, and I just, like, randomly said, hydration is hot. And so now we, like, say that all the time. And, that crazy cab ride back, too, where the guy was going, like, 100 miles an hour. Oh my God. And then I just turned and I see a goat and I'm like, oh, goat, there you are. Like, I thought there was going to be more goats in Greece and there weren't. And so there's like inside jokes, but there's also a tradition. So when we went to a conference in San Francisco, it was so freaking cold. So cold. Oh. Like, my expectation, much like coming to Arizona like I am now, is that it's not going to be cold and there's not going to be snow.
Well, and this conference was in May, too. So we totally expected, because... Again, we're both Midwesterners, so California only has one image in our head.
It's warm.
And so we were expecting Southern California, not realizing we were going to San Francisco.
And I think there's a quote from, I'm blanking on who it is, but is it Jack London, Mark Twain? They're two very different people. It said the coldest winter I ever spent is the spring I spent in San Francisco, something like that, or the summer I spent in San Francisco. So I guess I have to think that it's not always warm there, but when it was like particularly cold and we weren't expecting it. And so we were walking along the pier and we both bought scarves. And from that day, that was in, I think, 2007, every time I travel, I buy a scarf.
Because we had both bought one in Greece, too, the year before.
Yeah, so we started that tradition. And so we both have scarves because we... our most recent trip was to Paris and Prague. Mm-hmm. Part friendship, part work, which really shows the balance, right? So other than our national conferences, we've gone to Rhode Island to celebrate our friends
getting married.
Yes, and I think that really gets at some of the things where we start to see what skill sets we have and which ones we do not have, right? And how we can work together to travel together. So number one, it was the World Cup. Tara is not necessarily a fan of soccer, although she has to be now because both me as a friend and her husband are soccer fans, so now she has to be. But at that time, Jason wasn't in the picture. So you only had me interested in soccer. And then our friends decided to get married on the day that England and U.S. play. I'm like, what are you doing? No. So
neither of them are soccer fans, though. So they weren't.
Chris is quasi interested, but he clearly isn't interested enough. If he planned a wedding on the day, I mean, I would have planned around it at least. But whatever. Not my wedding. Might be why I'm not married, but whatever. But like, the first half was during the wedding, and then the second half was like
during happy hour.
During the happy hour.
At the wedding, yeah.
But Tara, because she is a huge fan of college basketball, like I am, understands that sports are important. So we make things happen for each other. So knowing each other, we can make those things happen. Like, oh, there's a TV over here so you can watch the second half of the game, right?
Yep.
And then when we went out in Rhode Island, another skill that Tara has is navigation.
By skill, she means not skilled at all.
But she is our navigator.
Yeah.
You have become the navigation.
Which is really frightening because
I still don't... The Secretary of Navigation.
I still don't know the difference between my left and my right most days.
But when I lived with Tara, we watched a lot of Friends because that's one of Tara's favorite TV shows, if not... Well, what's your favorite TV show?
In my heart of hearts, it's always Friends, but kind of as time has
gone
passed,
by, yeah. Not so much?
Not as much. There's other more intriguing shows.
Yes, but we have a lot of
Friends references because we've watched so much Friends.
Yes, totally. And so Tara's in charge of navigation. We were in Rhode Island.
So the first time we ever decided to jump into the map was in Rhode Island. And then, of course, it had to happen when we were in London.
Yes, which is a reference to when Joey tries to figure out how to navigate, he has to get into the map. And so he actually puts the map on the ground and gets into it.
And Chandler looks at him like he's nuts.
Yeah. But so we did that in Rhode Island, and then we did it again in London. But my skill set comes in is that I have documentation of that because I am what we call the social media coordinator. So you're the secretary of navigation, the queen of planning, and I am the social media coordinator. And
so there is a picture of me jumping into a map in Rhode Island.
Or it might be me, or it might be both of us, and I asked someone to take the photo.
Might have been. And I think if I remember correctly, if we did do that, I think they gave us kind of an odd look.
Yeah, like
I do remember getting an odd look from some people in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, that's not unusual sometimes, but...
I also think about, in our most recent trips, like in Prague, I was really sick. And I had Tara, so kind to go and get me medication and orange juice and be sure I had my Cola Light. Touche. And brought all that stuff to me. And I can't tell you how many Czech cold meds I had, and I couldn't read the box, so I don't know what the hell was in it, but I'm still alive.
She was just trusting that I heard the instructions correctly from a woman who barely spoke English.
And I used all of her Kleenex, because Tara always has Kleenex, she always has Band-Aids, she always has a purse, and that's sort of a running joke too, is I'm always like, Tara, can I put this in your purse? Because I never think to pack a purse because I don't want it to be my carry-on, and then I never think to pack it. But I did this trip. I did bring a purse this time. And so, Tara, do you want to tell the listeners how I repaid you for
So I get home from work several months ago, some October-ish maybe?
I wasn't that late. I think it was still summer.
Was it summer?
I don't know. We went in June, or May, June-ish.
Yeah, anyway, time doesn't matter.
Yes.
Get home, there's a large box from Alysa. It's probably like 8 by 12 by 4, right? And I'm like, oh, I wonder where she sent me. I'm opening it up. There was like a pair of socks and stuff in there and a couple other things, but the whole box was stuffed with packages of travel tissues. There were probably at least 36 little packages of tissues. It was hilarious.
I bought so many, but I was saying thank you for taking care of me and for my apologies for using all your Kleenex.
Well, during finals week this year, I walked into class for a review with my students, and I was sniffling because it had actually been cold in Las Vegas. Well, cold for Las Vegas.
Yes.
And so I was sniffling as I walked into the classroom and rummaging through my bag, and I couldn't find any tissues.
Yeah.
And my student turned around would you like a tissue? And I'm like, I would love one. She's like, I hate the sniffling. I'm like, so do I. I always have tissues. And so she gave me a tissue, but B, and I'm like, I relayed this story about how Alysa had been sick in Prague and sent me an entire box of tissues, and the entire class just bursted out laughing. They thought it was the greatest thing in the world.
My work here is done. I love that it not only brought you and Jason some joy, but then also brought additional people joy.
I thought that was a fabulous little touch there.
So let's talk a little bit. Those are some of the highlights, and I'm sure some other things will come up. But what is it like traveling together? How would you describe it to people? We might have touched on it a little bit, but one of the first things that we have talked about before is that we're interested in both similar things and different things. How would you talk about that?
So it's awesome traveling with Alysa or a friend more generally if it's the right travel partner, because we push each other to experience things the other one probably wouldn't have gone out of the way to do. So I would never have gone on a macaroon walking tour in Paris, except that she was hot on macaroons.
Yeah. Hot like that. Macaron. That's a past thing. I'm always hot on macarons. They're my favorite.
But the other cool part about not just tasting macaroons was seeing parts of neighborhoods in Paris, and then a couple days later we were navigating ourselves around that neighborhood without too much. Yeah. And
it was cool because it's also really small. It was us and a family with their two adults in a
and she was like a
just
senior in
from
high school or something.
No, she just graduated from college.
That's right, yeah.
And then we had the tour, so then it's like you kind of can meet new people, and the guides are also really friendly and that sort of thing. And so that was really fun. And I think what's great is like we both wanted to go to Paris, and then it's like you were like, we're going to do this, but you also knew that like I've wanted to go to the Eiffel Tower since I was younger. And that's like a dream of mine to go to Paris and that sort of thing. And sort of like, yes, let's do that because I want to do it, but it's not necessarily on Jason's travel list, right? And so, but when we're there, it's like, we got the Eiffel Tower, we got the macaroons, and I'm like, whatever you want to do, I'm all about it. Let's go. Including getting my tattoo, which was super fun too. It took like 10 minutes.
It was so fast.
I went in, asked if they spoke English, and then asked if they would do a tattoo, and the guy was like, yeah, I'm on my lunch break, and he did the tattoo, and then we were out of there.
It was so fast.
Fast.
And the other thing, like, cool is, like, because we're similar in a lot of ways, like, sometimes the same things, like, will irk us.
Yeah. Versailles.
So on one of the days that we were in Paris, it was a holiday weekend, and we had no idea of this.
Yeah.
And so, but we had decided to go to do like an out of town trip out of town. It's like a 40-minute bus drive.
Yeah.
To Versailles and
Monet's
home. I forget the town.
Yeah, I don't know.
But both places were packed, like sardines in a can. I don't know any, like, it was ridiculous.
It was super hot that day too.
It was warm. It was in packed spaces, and of course, I mean, it's not like Versailles has air conditioning.
Yeah. When did they put in the air conditioners? God damn it, Louis.
And so, like, she and I were fine together, but oh my gosh, everybody...
We hated everyone else. It was like mood for the whole day. It's just like rolling eyes at everyone, like, these motherfuckers.
But we loved everything that we saw. And
yes.
The thing is, like, we wish we had just had more space to, like, sit back and, like, take in the amazingness of it all.
Yeah. There was long line to get into the house. Then we had to have earphones in, and they didn't stay in my ears. And I was just, like, not having it. And it was, like, day 2 of the trip. Probably because the day before was Eiffel Tower and the Macaroon walking tour. Mm-hmm. And then it's, like, all of a sudden we're in with all these people and so on and so forth, and we were up super early and had to walk to the spot. Where the bus was leaving, yeah. And the Monet's house was gorgeous. Like, I have one of the best pictures I've ever taken. Thank you, what is it? No, it's portrait mode on my iPhone. Holy shit. One of the best pictures of all the flowers outside, and inside is beautiful. And then Versailles was just gold.
The Hall of Mirrors is...
So much gold.
Yeah.
And mirrors. And, yeah, I remember when we got out of Versailles and we could sort of walk around the outside. We had, like, an hour or so. Mm-hmm. I was like, can we just go over here for, like, 10 minutes and not be by anyone? And Tara's just like, yes. And so that is really great with traveling, is that not only do we get irked about the same things at the same time, so we can just be miserable together in the sense of complaining about other people. But
which kind of makes it entertaining for us.
Yeah. But we're fine with each other. Like, it's not like we were irritated with each other at all, right? But it also is like when one is in a pissy mood and the other one is not, we balance each other. So, for example, when we went to Greece, I told Tara and our other traveling friend that I just wanted to let them know in advance that I get quiet when I'm tired and hungry. And so then they know it's not about them, it's more about me. And I just... need some food in my mouth. And Tara probably has that granola bar in her purse that she brought. But she always brings healthy food. My food looks like chips and chocolate, and then hers are like apples and granola bars. Healthy stuff.
Jerky.
Yeah.
Have some protein.
Yeah. And so, but then it can be helpful. And then there was that night in France where there was the people smoking, just like chain smoking, and it was
raining out that night too. Yes. So it was just the smoke was sitting there because of all the humidity.
And I was like, Tara, it's gonna be okay. Let's take pictures of this moment because I'm a social media coordinator. Let's have some more cheese, and let's go next door and get some ice cream. And sure enough, that did the trick.
I was happy after we got away. Well, and then those smokers came back to the ice cream shop too.
You were like, stop following us. Why are you so obsessed with us? Yeah.
Anyway, Yeah, she knew why I was pissy.
Yes. But yeah, you had mentioned as we were talking about like this episode as possibility of what the topic might be, is that we know each other so well now that we can sort of read each other and see what is going to work.
We can kind of see what's about to happen.
What's the day going to be like today? How many pictures of doors is Alysa going to stop me to take? I have enough pictures of doors from Paris and Prague to have an Instagram account for like 5 years. And so I think that's one of the things that I like to give Tara credit for, is that she is always able to put up with me and my ideas of things. Like, oh, I want to get a picture of this. Like, she's always like, yeah, sure. Oh, this might be a better angle. Like, she's always like, let's stop. And it's that we can enjoy everything together. And that might not be your thing, but you know that it's mine and you respect that. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that. Like, that's a friendship. And I know that there are things that you're going to want to do, like, this place doesn't have wine. Well, we're not going to that place. Well, in France, there are places without wine.
Please, in France.
Are there macaroons, too? Okay. But I think that is, like, you know, she might want to get super nerdy about something for a while. Well, actually, we're both getting nerdy. My nerdy is just different than your nerdy.
Mm-hmm. Like, I geeked out just saying, like, what was it? Oh, when we were walking towards to go see the catacombs, which ended up being closed that day.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh my gosh, Marie Curie Street right here. Da, 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 da. And
I'm like, cool. I'm like, tell me about it.
I'm like, I'm already starting to plan my next trip to Paris.
Yeah, yeah. And we do that a lot. We talk a lot about, like, where else we might want to go. And so where do you think, where should we go in the future? Apparently, Tara is telling me that although we were talking about this episode being about friends traveling together, that she
I don't want to travel with her anymore.
Yeah, she's like, let's end that phase. That was an era. Which is a Friends reference. It was an era.
I think, well, part of it for me is like, and we've talked about this before too, several months ago, like always trying to balance. Husband wants to travel.
Yes.
Friend wants to travel. Like how, like making sure both happen.
Yeah. Well, Paris is a go again because Jason doesn't want to go back.
Jason has no interest in going back to Paris. So part of it, like definitely getting to, I think I would love to go to Spain.
Yes.
And Jason's not so hot on it.
Yeah.
But definitely, and I think for me within the next year, I think maybe kind of like a resolution and maybe a friendship resolution is doing more traveling here in the States to like go and travel to see friends and see their favorites places and kind of their little home nooks and things. Yeah. I brought you down to Cottonwoods several times now. So
I've been to Vegas and seen Vegas sort of from your angle, which is not the Strip. But yeah, also Cottonwood for the last 2 years, which is going and doing all these wine tastings with Jason and Tara and some of his family, and seeing this like space that they travel to a lot and that they really enjoy. And so I get to sort of be included in that part of your life, and I get to spend a week with you and to celebrate your 40th birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And of course, the two cherries on top, of course, are their dogs, Stella and BJ, who are the cutest little
BACON.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
BACON.
This trip, we have a child that loves all the nursery rhymes, so we've watched a lot of it. And BJ's name actually stands for
Bacon Jose the Pug Brinkman McManus.
Oh, Jesus, that's a lot. But so Jason has not been singing Bingo. He's been singing Bacon, and all of us have had it in our head all week. Jesus. Oh, but yeah.
With that in mind, kind of like maybe because I've been to Mount Pleasant, so like getting some friends together to go to Traverse City, which you talk about all the time.
Yeah, Traverse City in Michigan is beautiful. It has wineries, it has breweries, it has. I went to the institution there, the mental institution that they've turned into like shops, and you get to do the tour. There's scary, there's paranormal, there's the true crime, there's all sorts of good stuff in Traverse City.
And that's one of the, like, it marries like both of our kind of interests and things. You're like
that. Get me liquored up before we go in these tunnels.
I'll slide right through.
You'll slide right through. What was that? Was that a ghost? No, you just been drinking. It's fine.
or going back to Colorado, like you've been to Colorado, so heading to Colorado to do some of those things, or heading down to North Carolina to see one of our friends, things like that. So
yeah, and I think that's a really good idea, and that I think is a place where people can start. So thinking about friendship and travel, like I think a lot of times people might not want to do it because it can be damaging to the friendship. So what advice would you give people if they want to travel?
So I think one thing, it's going to take time to find the right friend to travel with, I think. Or you might be lucky and figure it out pretty quickly. Yeah. And I think a nice way, and I think you've done this with some of your friends, is just take like short road trips.
Yeah.
Right? Like one overnighter to kind of see who works and who understands you and things like that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, and kind of building off of kind of traveling to visit friends, is that everybody, at least a lot of people, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people think travel can be expensive.
Yeah.
And so I think one way to kind of help with that is to kind of travel to see friends, especially as you've talked about on previous podcasts. Like as you get older, your friends live across the country and things to that extent. So sometimes it can be, you're not traveling together, but you're traveling to see one another and kind of learn, and not necessarily like just sitting at home, but kind of, hey, I want to take me to kind of your favorite hangout place or things like that. So that way everybody's kind of seeing, and that's maybe some of this is growing out of living in Las Vegas, like seeing your hometown through somebody's eyes, kind of seeing it new for the first time. So we do that a lot in Las Vegas with people who visit.
However, she has never taken me to a residency yet. Miss Britney Spears. Lady Gaga just started, though. Oh, we're going to have a stare-off on a podcast. No, these are the two things I want to do in Nevada, and I might have to make Tara.
We'll go.
But yeah. Well, one is to see a residency, but I love Lady Gaga. She's my favorite, and I've seen her in concert before, and she's amazing, and then she's just gotten all these great reviews in her residency, which started when I'm only a couple hours away, and I'm not there. It's fine. I'm not salty about it at all. Actually,
we can take you when we get home tomorrow night.
Oh, I don't have money for that. It's probably sold out. But the other thing is that Bonnie and Clyde's car is in the vicinity, like it's a couple hours away. And so that's something where it's like, it would not necessarily be where I would make Tara do that per se, but I can come visit her, get a rental car or something and go see that, but visit with her, see her favorite places, what they like to do, or maybe we do road trip there and find a winery or brewery there and go check that out while we go check out the Bonnie and Clyde car. I'll have to do some research. I'll let you know.
Figure it out.
Yeah. But I think that's a really good point, is that traveling isn't always expensive, or doesn't have to be. One of the things that I always say is, like, one, the kindness of friends is also really amazing. And I would say that about you and Jason for sure. Last year, you brought me out here on points from your credit card, right? And so I didn't even pay for the flight. And so that is absolutely amazing to be able to have that experience, or that you would share that with me so that I could come be a part of your life and experience in the wineries in Cottonwood and get that creme brulee cheesecake at Arizona Stronghold. Is that the place?
I think it was.
Yeah, that place is bomb.com. Cottonwood, Arizona. Everyone go. They're not a sponsor, but go see them. Wine is good. Cheesecake is good. It's all good. But also, like, one of the things I say in my advice is for friends to travel, like, I agree with everything that you said. And sometimes I think you're just friends with people where it works for travel, and sometimes it doesn't. And I think for us it works, because I can't think of us, other than maybe being mildly irritated with each other, I can't think of us ever having a problem or a conflict or anything like that. And some of that, I think it comes down to being really open about it. Like back to Greece, where I was like, this is what I'm like. Or you know that I'm anxious about being away from my cats. And I know that you're anxious about being away from your dog. So when we were in Paris, like, I would FaceTime with my cat sitter so I could see Rooney and Ferguson and talk to them. And Tara has a system where you can see the dogs in the house, and so we would check on them a couple times. And I think the funniest moment ever was that Jason was in the house. One of the times we checked, and all of a sudden from the left side of the camera, you see him going, "Excuse me?" That was so funny. But you could call and talk to the dogs, and they would come on the couch if they weren't there, and you could see them. And so just knowing sort of like the things that we want to do, things that we wouldn't necessarily want to do things that make us feel uncomfortable, those sorts of things. And I also think that being friends but also traveling together is like getting better at it though too. Like you and Jason are really good at planning things. Like there was like a Google Doc for Paris and Prague, and I'm not that good with organization, so maybe I need to spend a couple hours with y'all today on that as we go into the new year. I need your help. So I think that through all this time together, we get better. We can start to learn from each other. Like we talked about skill sets, like Tara plans for everything. And so now on this trip to Cottonwood, I have a purse. I have 2 containers of my own Kleenex. And so I am better at, preparing and doing things after traveling with Tara. And so I think that that's some of the advice, is really knowing what your skills are, right? Like it's being mindful of those things. And, sometimes, and I'm not saying this about Tara because I don't think she necessarily wants to be in control of navigation, but if you know someone who's good at navigation and they need to feel in control, then let them do it. I don't feel that need. And, I'm just like, want to see everything and take pictures. And like Tara, you don't take pictures as often.
I'm not as good at it.
You usually don't have your phone out except for the GPS.
I'm definitely one of those travelers where I like to like soak it all in the moment. So.
Yeah. And I do that as well, but I also like to capture it. Yeah. And so that is why this week's episode is going to have the most lit promos ever, because I got pictures of everything that we've talked about.
Probably. I would not put that past you.
No. And I just had to find it all. Yeah. Going back to 2004.
Especially since you're not organized.
I'm organized and... Well, okay, you got me. Any other advice you give people?
Those are my big ones. Like just finding the right person to travel, and like to me, travel has become a priority in life, but making it fit my budget. That's always the trick. And so being smart about kind of saving as well as kind of making plans. So like this year, I know financially we're a little bit more tight.
So international might not be.
International is not an option, but definitely like traveling to visit friends and making that a trip for both of us.
And it doesn't always have to be like some big grand thing. It can be like I want to go to the Cincinnati Zoo to see Fiona and my boy Wenzel. But I want to go to the zoo, and so that might be like a 2-day trip or something like that, or it's like my friend Allison loves coffee shops, and if she's like, there's this really cool coffee shop on the other side of the state, well then it's like, let's go, and so you can spend fun time together. It can be relatively cheap and you have that time together. But I also think that sometimes travel doesn't work with friends, and if you know that about a particular friend, then you can plan around that.
Or sometimes like a day trip can be wonderful with a friend, but like several overnights might be too much.
And or a 2-week trip might not ever happen.
And figuring out the right friends for each of those.
Yeah, and it's also like knowing that we also might need space by ourselves, right?
Yeah, and even when we were traveling this summer, and I think we even do this with NCA, is that we both kind of go our opposite directions, or we're sitting at the end of the day, we're just kind of sitting with our own thoughts and kind of doing our own thing at that time and just respecting each other.
Yeah, because you're going to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, because it was just the two of us for the first 9 or 10 days. So it was definitely kind of realizing, as much as I love you and having lived together and years ago, like we
that
both...
might help too.
That might have helped too, right? Because we know kind of that look or that feeling that we both kind of need just a few moments to decompress and to be in our own thoughts. So,
well, I'm grateful to have a travel buddy like you.
Ditto, right back at you.
Oh, you're going ghost. You're going ditto.
Ditto. I am old. I mean, officially this week.
Yeah, officially you are old because she's 40. But yeah, so if you're looking into 2019 and you're thinking about doing some more traveling, or you have some friendship resolutions, which of course, I hope that you do have some friendship resolutions. I think that there's some ideas here that me and Tara, from our experience, but also knowing that things might not always work, and figuring out who that might be. It might take a lot of planning, or maybe it's a simple day trip. And I think those things can help friendship. It can cement friendship, as Tara said. You can really get to know each other well, maybe more so than you ever wanted to know. So until next time, friends, is say au revoir, au revoir,
au revoir,
au revoir, and try a trip with a friend, because without our friends, who would we be? Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Thanks for listening to Best Forevers. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with a friend. Please be sure to follow Best Forevers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. You can always find the podcast webpage for more information at bestforeverspod.com, and share your stories of friendship by emailing me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the movement to love on our friends more, check out the podcast on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. Now, friends, check out this recommended podcast that you must get in your ear holes immediately.
Hey there, I'm Sarah.
Hi, I'm Danielle.
And we're the hosts of the Mysterious Midwest podcast.
And we're going to be coming at you every other week while we drink and we talk about spooky sightings.
And Midwest legends and folklore.
Abandoned properties.
Local true crime stories.
And curious conversations with strange people.
Even weird events and festivals that you can attend this upcoming year.
You can download us on all the things, wherever you download your podcast at.
Or visit us on the interwebs at mysteriousmidwestpod.com.
We'll be there doing weird stuff.
And on social media.
All right, well. Okay, bye.
Bye.